He was known as the most ruthless CEO in the city. She was just trying to give her daughter a Christmas to remember. When Zara Mills is fired 2 days before Christmas, she thinks it's the cruelest twist of fate. Little does she know that the man who ruined her holiday has his own painful connection to Christmas, one that will bring him to her doorstep with an offer she never expected. But as the snow falls and secrets are revealed, both Zara and billionaire Asher Thorne will discover that some gifts can't be wrapped, and some business deals come with unexpected strings attached. What begins as a story of heartbreak might just end with a miracle, if they can both open their hearts to the real meaning of Christmas. "Penny, we're going to be late again," Zara Mills called out, frantically searching for her daughter's other snow boot. Outside, fat snowflakes drifted past their apartment window, adding to the 6 inches that had fallen overnight. "Coming, Mom." 8-year-old Penny appeared in the hallway, her curly brown hair sticking out in all directions. One of her mismatched socks was sliding down her ankle. Zara sighed and knelt to fix her daughter's sock. "Remember, Mrs. Guzman is picking you up from school today. I have to work late again." "But it's almost Christmas," Penny pouted, her big brown eyes, so much like her father's, looking up at Zara. "I know, sweetie." Zara smoothed down Penny's wild curls. "2 more days of extra work, and then I'll have enough money for Santa to bring something special." The mention of Santa immediately brightened Penny's face. "Do you think he got my letter about Sparkles the unicorn?" "I'm sure he did." Zara found the missing boot under the couch and helped Penny put it on. "But remember, Santa has to make lots of toys for children all over the world. Sometimes he can't make everything on the list." "But Sparkles is the only thing I really want," Penny insisted. "Madison at school says they're all sold out in stores. But Santa makes his own toys, right?" "Right," Zara said, her stomach knotting. The limited edition Sparkles the Unicorn had sold out within hours of its release. The only ones left were being sold online for 3 times the original price. Money that Zara simply didn't have, even with the extra hours she'd been putting in at Thorne Industries. 10 minutes later, Zara dropped Penny off at Mrs. Guzman's apartment. The elderly woman had been a godsend since Rick died 3 years ago, watching Penny whenever Zara had to work late. "You look tired, dear," Mrs. Guzman said, handing Zara a travel mug of coffee. "Just 2 more days until the holiday." "Break," Zara said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "Then I can sleep for a whole week." "You work too hard at that fancy company." Mrs. Guzman clucked her tongue. "Do they appreciate you there?" "I hope so," Zara replied, checking her watch. "I really need to go. There's a big meeting today, and my boss wants the quarterly reports ready." "Go, go," Mrs. Guzman shooed her away. "We'll make Christmas cookies tonight after dinner." Zara rushed through the snowy streets to catch the bus. As a data analyst at Thorne Industries, she wasn't required to be in early, but she prided herself on always being the first one at her desk. In 3 years, she had never missed a deadline or called in sick, even when Penny had the flu and Zara had to work remotely from the pediatrician's waiting room. The moment she walked into the office, Zara sensed something was wrong. Small groups of employees huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. Her boss's office door was closed, the blinds drawn, something that never happened. "What's going on?" Zara asked her cubicle neighbor, Damien. He glanced around nervously, before leaning closer. "Word is there's going to be layoffs, big ones. Management's been in meetings all week." "But it's almost Christmas," Zara whispered, her heart racing. "They wouldn't fire people right before the holidays." Damien shrugged. "Asher Thorne doesn't care about holidays. He cares about profit margins." Zara had never met the CEO of Thorne. Industries, but his reputation was legendary. At 32, Asher Thorne had taken his father's already successful company and transformed it into a global powerhouse. He was known for his brilliant business mind and his complete lack of sentimentality. The business magazines called him innovative. The employees called him heartless. The morning crept by in an atmosphere of tension. Zara tried to focus on her reports, but her hands trembled slightly over her keyboard. She needed this job more than ever. The medical bills from Rick's accident had wiped out their savings, and the life insurance barely covered the funeral costs. This job was the only thing keeping a roof over their heads and food on the table. At 1 o'clock sharp, Zara's phone rang. "Ms. Mills, please come to conference." "Room B," said the cool voice of someone from Human Resources. The walk to the conference room felt like a march to the gallows. Inside, a woman Zara recognized from HR sat beside a man in an expensive suit who didn't bother to look up from his laptop. "Please, sit down," the woman said, with practiced sympathy. 20 minutes later, Zara stood outside the Thorne Industries building, holding a small box containing her personal items. The severance package they'd offered would barely cover January's rent. Her employee badge had already been deactivated. Security had escorted her out like she was a criminal instead of someone who had given 3 years of loyal service to the company. Through her tears, Zara looked up at the top floor of the building where the executive offices were located. For a moment, she thought she saw a figure standing at the window, a tall man in a dark suit, watching the departing employees. Even from this distance, she could feel the coldness of his gaze. That must be him, Asher Thorne, the man who had just ruined Christmas. Clutching her box tighter, Zara turned away and started the long walk home through the falling snow, dreading the moment when she would have to tell Penny that this Christmas might not have any presents under their little tree after all. Asher Thorne watched the last of the terminated employees leave the building. The woman with the box of personal items had looked up directly at his window. Something about her tear-streaked face made him step back from the glass, an unfamiliar feeling settling in his chest. "That's the last of them, sir," said Vivian Reed, his executive assistant of 5 years. 32 employees total. The board is pleased with your decisive action." Asher returned to his desk, a massive slab of polished black granite. "And the severance packages?" "Standard procedure. 1 month's salary plus any unused vacation days," Vivian replied, sliding a folder across the desk. "HR has prepared a statement for the remaining staff." Asher nodded, his expression revealing nothing of his thoughts. At 32, he had mastered the art of hiding emotions. Business magazines called it his poker face, a trait that had earned him both respect and fear in the corporate world. "The woman I saw leaving just now. The one with the dark hair. Who was she?" Vivian consulted her tablet. "Zara Mills, data analyst, level 3. Been with the company 3 years. Her performance reviews were exemplary, but her department was one of the redundancies after the merger." She seemed upset. "Most of them were," Vivian said with a slight shrug. "It's the timing. 2 days before Christmas." "The timing was the board's decision, not mine," Asher said, though he knew this wasn't entirely true. He could have delayed the layoffs until January, but waiting would have affected the fourth quarter, reports. "Business doesn't stop for holidays." "Of course not, sir." Vivian's tone was professional, but Asher caught the slight disapproval. "Will you still be attending the Winters Foundation Gala tonight?" "Do I have a choice?" Asher asked dryly. Would look bad if you didn't, especially after today's layoffs. The company needs the good publicity of your charitable donation." Asher waved her away. "I'll be there. Send a car at 8. When Vivian left, Asher swiveled his chair to face the floor-to-ceiling windows. Snow was falling harder now, coating the city in white. From his penthouse office, the people below looked like ants scurrying through a vast maze. His phone buzzed with a message from his father. Heard about the layoffs. Good move. Never let sentiment get in the way of sound business. Asher didn't reply. His relationship with Gerald Thorne was complicated at best. The older man had built Thorne Industries from the ground up, teaching his son that compassion was a luxury successful businessmen couldn't afford. Sentiment is for the weak, Gerald would say. And the Thornes are not weak. Asher's childhood had been a series of lessons in strength. When he cried over a skinned knee, his father lectured him on resilience. When he brought home a report, card with all A's and one B, his father focused only on the B. And when his little sister Lily became sick, his parents buried themselves in work, leaving 8-year-old Asher to sit by her hospital bed, reading her stories until she fell asleep. Lily had died on Christmas Eve. She was 7. Asher pushed the memory away and turned to the stack of reports on his desk. By 6 o'clock, the office was empty except for the cleaning staff. He changed into the tuxedo he kept at work for such occasions and headed to the charity gala. The Winters Foundation Gala was held at the Grand Meridian Hotel, a spectacle of crystal chandeliers and champagne fountains. Wealthy donors in designer clothes air-kissed and made small talk about vacation homes and private jets. Asher, there you are! Margaret Winters, the foundation's director, and an old family friend, approached him. In her 70s now, she still carried herself with the grace of the ballet dancer she had once been. I was beginning to think you wouldn't come and miss the chance to be ambushed by every eligible socialite in the city, Asher said, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. How could I resist? Margaret's laugh was warm. You know, not every woman is after your money. Just most of them, Asher replied with a wry smile. He had learned that lesson the hard way. I heard about the layoffs at Thorne Industries, Margaret said, her tone growing serious. Just before Christmas, Asher? Really? Business decision, he said, his standard response. Everything is business with you. Margaret shook her head. You know, your father was the same way, always putting profit over people. It cost him in the end. The company is more successful than ever, Asher pointed out. I'm not talking about the company. Margaret placed a hand on his arm. When was the last time you did something that wasn't calculated for maximum return on investment? When was the last time you did something simply because it was right? Before Asher could respond, they were interrupted by the foundation's treasurer, announcing dinner. As they moved toward the dining room, Margaret said, You're making the donation in Lily's name again this year? As always, Asher said quietly. During dinner, his thoughts kept drifting to the woman with the box, Zara Mills. Something about her had gotten under his skin. On an impulse, he texted Vivian, Send me Mills' employee file. Minutes later, his phone buzzed. He scrolled through Zara's information. 30 years old, single mother to 1 daughter, husband deceased. Perfect attendance record. Recognition for developing a new data analysis system. Notes from her supervisor praising her work ethic and creativity. Attached to the file was a photo from the company picnic last summer. Zara, with her arm around a small girl with wild curly hair and a gap-toothed smile. For a moment, the girl's face blurred with another from his memory. Lily, laughing in the hospital bed during one of her good days, her hair gone from the treatments, but her smile as bright as ever. Is everything all right? Margaret asked, noticing his distraction. You look like you've seen a ghost. In a way, he had. I need to make a call, Asher said, rising from the table. For the first time in years, he was questioning a business decision. And for the first time since Lily died, the approaching Christmas, Eve made him feel something other than carefully buried grief. Zara's hands shook as she turned the key to her apartment. The hallway smelled like someone was baking gingerbread, and Christmas music drifted from behind Mrs. Guzman's door. She set her box of belongings on the floor and took a deep breath before knocking. The door swung open, releasing a wave of warmth and the scent of sugar cookies. "Mommy!" Penny launched herself into Zara's arms. "You're home early. We made cookies, and Mrs. Guzman let me put on extra sprinkles and—" She stopped suddenly, looking at her mother's face. "Why are you sad?" "I'm not sad," Zara lied, forcing a smile. "I'm just tired and hungry for cookies." Mrs. Guzman appeared behind Penny, her kind eyes immediately registering something was wrong. "Penny, why don't you go put the cookies on a plate for your mother?" When Penny dashed back into the apartment, Mrs. Guzman touched Zara's arm. "What happened?" "I lost my job," Zara whispered, her voice cracking. "They let me go. Right before Christmas." "Those heartless people!" Mrs. Guzman's face flushed with anger. "How dare they?" "It was a business decision," Zara said, repeating the words from HR that now felt like a slap. "I have some severance, but it won't last long. I don't know what I'm going to do." "You'll find something better," Mrs. Guzman said firmly. "And until then, you know I'm here to help." Penny returned with a plate of misshapen cookies covered in a mountain of sprinkles. "I made this one specially for you," she said, holding up a lopsided star. "It's magic and will make all your wishes come true." Zara's eyes filled with tears as she took the cookie. "Thank you, sweetie. That's exactly what I need today." Back in their own apartment, Penny insisted they finish decorating their small artificial tree. Zara had bought it on clearance 3 years ago after Rick died. It was missing a few branches and leaned slightly to the left, but Penny loved it. "Can we put Daddy's ornament on top?" Penny asked, holding up the glass star Rick had bought during their honeymoon. "Of course," Zara said, lifting Penny so she could place it on the highest branch. "Perfect. Now the tree is happy," Penny declared. "And look what I made at school." She ran to her backpack and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "It's my letter to Santa. Mrs. Guzman helped me put it in an envelope. Can we mail it tonight?" Zara unfolded the letter, her heart sinking as she read Penny's careful handwriting. "Dear Santa, my name is Penny Mills, and I am 8 years old. I have been very good this year. I helped my mom with dishes, and I got all A's on my report card. For Christmas, I really want a Sparkles the Unicorn. It's the Rainbow Dream Edition with the silver horn. Madison at school says they're all sold out, but I know you can make one in your workshop. Also, can you make my mom happy again? She works very hard, and sometimes she cries when she thinks I'm sleeping. And can you make my bad dreams go away? The doctor says I need special medicine, but it's very expensive. Thank you, Santa. I will leave you chocolate chip cookies. Not the ones with raisins because nobody likes those. Love, Penny Mills." Zara's hands trembled as she folded the letter. Penny had been having nightmares and headaches for weeks. The doctor wanted to run tests, expensive ones that their insurance would only partially cover. Tests that Zara now had no way to afford. "Can we mail it tonight? Please?" Penny begged. "Santa needs time to make sparkles." "Of course we can," Zara said, swallowing her tears. "Go get your coat." They walked hand in hand to the mailbox on the corner. After Penny dropped the letter in, she looked up at the cloudy night sky. "Do you think it will snow on Christmas, Mom?" "Maybe," Zara said. "Let's go home and have hot chocolate." Later, after Penny was asleep, Zara sat at their small kitchen table with her laptop, searching for job openings. There was nothing until after New Year's. She opened a new tab and typed, "Sparkles the Unicorn Rainbow Dream Edition." The search returned several listings, all from resellers charging 3 times the original price. Zara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of failure pressing down on her. The only thing her daughter wanted for Christmas was now impossible to provide. She opened her wallet and counted the cash from her last paycheck, barely enough for groceries and bus fare for job interviews. Her gaze fell on her mother's wedding ring, which she kept in a small velvet pouch in her purse. She'd never considered selling it before, but now Zara shook her head. Not yet. She wasn't that desperate. She still had 2 days before Christmas. Something would work out. It had to. The next morning, Zara took Penny to the community center, where volunteers were wrapping gifts for families in need. She had signed up weeks ago, never imagining she would soon be in need herself. "Mom, look at all the toys," Penny exclaimed, eyes wide at the piles of donations waiting to be wrapped. A volunteer approached them with a clipboard. "Are you here to help wrap or to pick up gifts?" "To help," Zara said quickly. "I signed up last month." "Wonderful. We're always short-handed on Christmas Eve," the woman said, leading them to a table covered in colorful paper and ribbons. "These are all going to children at the city shelter." As they wrapped gifts, Zara noticed a large banner hanging on the wall. "Holiday Toy Drive, sponsored by Thorn Industries." Beneath it was a quote, "Helping children's dreams come true." Asher. Thorn, CEO. Zara's hands clenched around the doll she was wrapping. The irony was almost too much to bear. The man who had fired her, ruining her family's Christmas, was publicly playing Santa to other children. "Mommy, can I wrap this one?" Penny held up a box containing a small stuffed unicorn. Not Sparkles, but similar. "Of course," Zara said, her throat tight. "I wish I could have one like this," Penny said wistfully as she carefully folded the paper. "But Sparkles is prettier. She has a silver horn and rainbow hair." "Maybe Santa will bring you one," Zara said. "He will," Penny said, with complete confidence. "I asked in my letter." Zara blinked back tears as she tied a ribbon around a package, wondering how she was going to face her daughter's disappointment on Christmas morning. For the first time since Rick died, she felt completely and utterly alone. The snow started, falling again as Zara and Penny walked home from the community center. Penny skipped ahead, trying to catch snowflakes on her tongue, while Zara's mind raced with calculations. If she sold her mother's ring and put off paying the electric bill, she might have enough for Penny's medication and a few small gifts. Food would be tight, but they could manage with pasta and the canned goods in their pantry. "Look, Mom, our building has Christmas lights now." Penny pointed excitedly to the modest string of multicolored bulbs someone had hung around the entrance of their apartment building. "They're beautiful," Zara agreed, though she barely noticed them. Her thoughts were still at the community center, fixed on that banner with Asher Thorne's name. If only he knew what his business decision had done to real people with real lives. Their apartment felt colder than usual. Zara turned up the thermostat just a little, knowing each degree would cost them. While Penny drew pictures at the kitchen table, Zara searched through the refrigerator and cabinets for dinner ingredients. "How about spaghetti tonight?" she asked, finding half a box of pasta and a jar of sauce. "With meatballs?" Penny asked, hopefully. Not tonight, sweetie. But I'll put extra cheese on top. Penny nodded, returning to her drawing. I'm making a picture of Sparkles the unicorn so I don't forget what she looks like when Santa brings her. Zara busied herself with boiling water, blinking back tears. The unfairness of it all threatened to overwhelm her. Penny deserved so much more than this. More than a mother scrambling to keep the lights on. More than pasta without meatballs. More than disappointment on Christmas morning. As the pasta cooked, someone knocked on the door. "Are you expecting Mrs. Guzman?" Zara asked Penny, who shook her head. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. "Coming!" Zara called, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She wasn't in the mood for company, especially if it was the building. Manager asking about January's rent. When she opened the door, Zara froze. Standing in the dimly lit hallway was Asher Thorne. For a moment, she thought she was hallucinating. The man she'd seen only from a distance, the man whose decision had upended her life, was standing at her door in an expensive wool coat dusted with snow. "Ms. Mills," he said, his voice deeper than she'd expected. "What are you doing here?" "Zara," demanded, finding her voice. "How did you even know where I live? Your address was in your employee file," he said, as if that explained everything. "May I come in?" "No," Zara said firmly. "You fired me this afternoon. You don't get to show up at my home and expect a welcome." Asher didn't flinch at her anger. If anything, he seemed to have expected it. "I understand your frustration." "Frustration?" Zara almost laughed. "You think this is frustration? This is panic, Mr. Thorne. This is wondering how I'm going to pay rent next month or buy medicine for my daughter. This is realizing I can't give my child the one thing she wants for Christmas because I don't have a job anymore." A flicker of something, regret, discomfort crossed Asher's face. "That's why I'm here, to give you this." He held out an envelope. "What is it? A better severance package? Some kind of hush money so I don't tell people you fire single mothers at Christmas?" "Mom, who's at the door?" Penny appeared beside Zara, peering curiously at the stranger. Asher's expression changed completely when he saw Penny. Something almost like pain flashed in his eyes. "Hello?" he said, his voice softer. "You must be Penny." Penny nodded, suddenly shy. "How do you know my name?" "I work with your mother," Asher said, not meeting Zara's gaze. "Are you Santa's helper?" Penny asked, eyeing his expensive coat. "You look like you could be." Asher seemed caught off guard by the question. "No, I'm just a businessman." "Do you want to see our Christmas tree?" Penny asked, already tugging at his coat sleeve. "It's not very big, but Mom says the size doesn't matter as long as there's love." "Penny, Mr. Thorne is busy," Zara began, but Penny was already pulling him into the apartment. Against her better judgment, Zara stepped aside. What could she do? Physically block him? Make a scene in front of Penny? Better to get this over with quickly and send him on his way. Asher looked oddly out of place in their small living room, like an exotic bird that had accidentally flown into the wrong habitat. His tall frame and tailored clothing seemed to make the apartment shrink around him. "See?" Penny pointed proudly to their little tree. "That star on top was my daddy's. He's in heaven now. But Mom says he can see it from there." Asher nodded solemnly. "It's a very nice tree." His gaze swept around the room, taking in the worn furniture, the patched curtains, the stack of job applications on the coffee table. Zara felt a flush of shame, followed immediately by anger. How dare he judge her life when he was the one who had made it harder? "What's in the pot?" Penny asked, noticing the boiling water on the stove. "Oh no, Mom, the pasta!" Zara rushed to the kitchen, grateful for the distraction. The pasta had boiled over, leaving a starchy mess on the stovetop. She turned down the heat, acutely aware of Asher watching her. "Penny, can you get the plates ready?" Zara asked, trying to regain control of the situation. "Can Mr. Thorne stay for dinner?" Penny asked. "We have enough spaghetti." "I'm sure Mr. Thorne has somewhere important to be," Zara said pointedly. "Actually, I do have a meeting I need to get to," Asher said, finally breaking his strange silence. He held out the envelope again. "This is for you, Ms. Mills. It's not what you think." Reluctantly, Zara took it. "Thank you for stopping." "Bye," she said stiffly, making it clear it was time for him to leave. Asher nodded. At the door, he paused, looking back at Penny, who was setting the table. "Your daughter, she seems like a very special child." "She is," Zara said, her voice softening despite herself. "She's everything to me." Something shifted in Asher's expression. "I hope you have a good Christmas, Ms. Mills." Before Zara could respond, he was gone, disappearing down the hallway like an apparition. "Is he your friend, Mom?" Penny asked, as Zara closed the door. "No," Zara said, staring at the envelope in her hand. "He's not my friend." He looked sad, Penny observed. Like he needed a hug, but didn't know how to ask for one. Out of the mouths of babes, Zara thought. "Let's eat dinner, and then you need a bath before bed." "Can I leave cookies for Santa tonight, in case he comes early?" "Christmas is still 2 days away, sweetie. Santa won't come until Christmas Eve." "But I want to be ready," Penny insisted. "Just in case. Just in case." The words echoed in Zara's mind as she looked at the envelope from Asher Thorne. Just in case it contained something that could help them. Just in case this unexpected visit meant something more than an attempt to ease a guilty conscience. She put the envelope aside, determined not to open it until Penny was asleep. Whatever it contained, it wouldn't change the fact that Asher Thorne had fired her. It wouldn't erase the calculated coldness with which he ran his business, and it certainly wouldn't make him the kind of person she would ever want in her life. After tucking Penny into bed with promises that tomorrow, Christmas Eve, would be special, Zara sat at the kitchen table with the envelope in front of her. The return address was embossed with the Thorne Industries logo. Her fingers trembled slightly as she tore it open. Inside was a check, her final paycheck, along with a bonus that was more than she usually earned in a month. Attached was a note on expensive stationery. "Ms. Mills, enclosed is your final compensation, along with a holiday bonus. This is standard procedure for all employees affected by yesterday's restructuring." Asher Thorne Zara stared at the check, a mix of emotions flooding through her. Relief that she could now afford Penny's medication and perhaps even the unicorn toy. Anger that Asher thought money could fix everything. Suspicion about whether other terminated employees had received similar bonuses. She almost tore the check in half on principle. But Penny's face flashed in her mind. Her excitement about Christmas, her belief in Santa Claus, her innocent hope that her letter would be answered. "Damn you, Asher Thorne," Zara whispered, carefully folding the check and putting it in her wallet. She would cash it tomorrow, not for him, but for Penny. Outside her apartment building, Asher sat in his car, the engine running but the vehicle motionless. Snow collected on the windshield as he stared up at the lighted windows of Zara's apartment. He should have left an hour ago, but something kept him there, watching. His phone buzzed. It was Vivian with the information he'd requested about Zara Mills. Hired as an intern right out of college. Promoted twice in 3 years. Husband Richard Mills died in car accident when daughter was 5. No family in the city. Created innovative data analysis system that saved company estimated $2.7 million annually. System currently used in all departments. No recognition or compensation for innovation beyond standard performance bonus. Asher frowned at the last line. This wasn't simply an employee who'd been caught in a downsizing. This was someone whose work directly benefited the company. Someone who'd been overlooked and undervalued. Someone whose intellectual property Thorn Industries was still using. Another text from Vivian. Her daughter's name is Penelope, age 8, goes by Penny. Asher closed his eyes, seeing again the little girl with wild curly hair and eager eyes. She had looked at him without fear or judgment, the way Lily used to look at him, as if he was someone worthy of trust, not the heartless billionaire employees whispered about behind his back. He made another call. "Marcus, it's Asher. I need a favor. Are you still connected with that toy store on Fifth Avenue?" Minutes later, he was talking to the store owner. "I know you're closed, but I need to purchase a specific item tonight." He described the sparkles, the unicorn toy. The Rainbow Dream Edition with the silver horn. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thorne. Those sold out weeks ago. We can't keep them in stock." "I understand that, but surely there must be one somewhere. I'm willing to pay whatever it costs." "Sir, unless you want to buy one from a reseller online, there's no way to get one before Christmas. Even our next shipment won't arrive until January." Asher ended the call, frustrated. For all his money and power, he couldn't produce a simple toy that would make one little girl happy on Christmas morning. Then he remembered something: the company warehouse. Thorn Industries had donated hundreds of toys to various charities for the holidays. Maybe, just maybe. Another call, another favor called in. By midnight, he had the unicorn, packaged in a simple gift box with no card or name. He drove back to Zara's apartment building and asked the night doorman to leave it outside her door. "Not a word about who it's from," Asher said, pressing a $100 bill into the man's hand. "Yes, sir. Merry Christmas, sir." As Asher drove away, snow falling thick around his car, he wondered why he'd gone to such lengths for a woman who clearly despised him, and a child who didn't know him. It wasn't like him to care about the personal lives of employees, former employees at that. Yet here he was, playing Secret Santa in the middle of the night. Back in her apartment, Zara had finally fallen into a restless sleep on the couch, too exhausted to make it to her bedroom. She dreamed of Rick, of happier Christmases when money wasn't so tight, and the future seemed bright with promise. A soft knock woke her just after midnight. Disoriented, she stumbled to the door, expecting to find Mrs. Guzman with some emergency. Santuith. Hallway was empty, but a small package sat on the floor. No note, no card, just a plainly wrapped box tied with a simple red ribbon. Zara brought it inside, puzzled. Had one of the neighbors left it? Perhaps someone from her church? She carefully opened it, gasping when she saw what was inside. Sparkles. The unicorn, the Rainbow Dream Edition with the silver horn. Exactly what Penny had asked for in her letter to Santa. "How?" she whispered, turning the toy over in her hands. It was brand new, still in its original packaging, and it must have cost someone a small fortune to find one this close to Christmas. For a wild moment, she wondered if Asher Thorne had something to do with it. But that was impossible. Why would he care about making her daughter happy? No, it must have been someone else. Someone who knew how much this would mean to Penny. Zara wrapped the unicorn in the Santa paper she'd been saving and placed it under the tree. For the first time in days, she felt a flicker of genuine happiness. Whatever happened tomorrow, at least Penny would have her Christmas wish. Early the next morning, Christmas Eve, Zara took the check to the bank. The teller raised an eyebrow at the amount, but processed it without comment. With cash in her wallet, Zara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She could pay for Penny's medication. She could buy groceries for a Christmas dinner. She might even have enough left over to pay January's rent. At the drugstore, the pharmacist smiled as he handed over Penny's prescription. "Merry Christmas, Ms. Mills. Looks like someone's looking out for you. The insurance already covered this." "That's not possible," Zara said. "My insurance through work ended yesterday." The pharmacist checked his computer. "Says here it was paid in full this morning. Some kind of special holiday program. You're all set through January." Confused but grateful, Zara left with the medication. First the unicorn, now this. It was as if someone was watching over them, making sure they'd have a good Christmas, despite everything. When she returned home, Penny was in the living room, jumping up and down with excitement. "Mom! Look what was under the door." She held up a red envelope. It says, "To Penny" on it. Inside was a gift card to Penny's favorite ice cream shop and a simple note. "For the bravest girl I know. Merry Christmas." No signature. No clue who it was from. "Is it from Santa?" Penny asked, eyes wide. "I think it might be from one of his helpers," Zara said, her mind racing. This was too much to be coincidence. Someone was deliberately helping them. But who? And why? Christmas morning dawned bright and clear, the sun reflecting off the fresh snow that had fallen overnight. Zara woke to the sound of Penny's excited footsteps racing down the hallway. "Mom! Mom! Wake up! Santa came!" Penny burst into the bedroom, her curly hair a wild tangle, her eyes bright with excitement. Zara sat up, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Despite everything, she couldn't help smiling at her daughter's joy. Did he? Let's go see. She followed Penny to their small living room, where the tree lights twinkled and the wrapped unicorn sat proudly front and center. Penny dove for it, immediately tearing off the paper with gleeful abandon. "It's Sparkles!" she screamed, holding the unicorn aloft like a trophy. "Mom! Santa brought Sparkles!" "He sure did," Zara said, swallowing the lump in her throat. "You must have been very good this year." "I told you he would come," Penny said, hugging the toy to her chest. "I knew it." Zara made hot chocolate while Penny played with her new treasure, naming all the colors in its rainbow mane and making it gallop across the couch. For a moment, everything felt perfect. The world outside with all its problems, no job, uncertain future, bills piling up, seemed far away. The knock on the door came just as they were finishing breakfast. "Maybe it's Mrs. Guzman with her special Christmas." "Cookies," Penny said, still clutching Sparkles. But when Zara opened the door, Asher Thorne stood there once again. This time, he wasn't wearing his expensive wool coat, but a simple gray sweater and jeans. He looked almost normal, almost approachable. "Mr. Thorne," Zara said, her voice tight. "This is becoming a habit." "I apologize for the intrusion," he said, his eyes moving past her to Penny, who was watching curiously from the living room. "Especially today. I can come back another time." Before Zara could answer, Penny came running over. "You're the man from yesterday! The businessman!" Asher's face softened. "That's right. Merry Christmas, Penny." "Look what Santa brought me." Penny held up Sparkles. "It's exactly what I asked for." "That's wonderful," Asher said, and Zara noticed a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Santa must think you're very special." "Do you want to come in and have hot chocolate?" Penny asked. "Mom made it with real chocolate, not the powder stuff." Zara opened her mouth to make an excuse, but Asher was already nodding. "That sounds nice, if your mother doesn't mind." Zara hesitated. Part of her wanted to send him away, to preserve this perfect morning with just her and Penny. But another part was curious. Why was he here again? What did he want? "Come in," she said finally. "But I don't have much time. We're having Christmas breakfast with our neighbor soon." This was a lie, but Asher nodded, as if he understood. He followed them into the kitchen, looking strangely at home despite the modest surroundings. Penny insisted on serving him hot chocolate herself, carefully carrying the mug to the table. "Be careful, it's hot," she warned with all the seriousness of a much older person. "Thank you," Asher said, taking the mug. He seemed uncertain how to act around the child, but Penny wasn't bothered by his formality. "Do you like unicorns?" she asked, showing him sparkles again. "I don't know much about them," Asher admitted, "but yours looks very special." "She is. She's magic," Penny said confidently. "She can make wishes come true." "That's quite a power," Asher said. Zara watched this strange interaction, wondering what game Asher was playing. Why was the CEO of Thorne Industries sitting in her kitchen on Christmas morning, making small talk with her 8-year-old? "Penny, why don't you go get dressed?" Zara suggested. "Then you can show sparkles to Mrs. Guzman." Once Penny had skipped off to her room, Zara turned to Asher. "Why are you here, Mr. Thorne?" Asher set down his mug, his expression turning serious. "I have a proposition for you, Ms. Mills. A business proposition." "I'm not interested in charity," Zara said firmly. "This isn't charity," Asher replied. "It's business. I've been reviewing company records, and I discovered something interesting. The data analysis system you developed 3 years ago, it's been saving Thorne Industries millions of dollars annually." Zara shrugged. "I was just doing my job." "No," Asher said, leaning forward. "You were doing far more than your job. That system should have earned you recognition, a promotion, maybe even a patent. Instead, you got a standard performance bonus while the company reaped the benefits." "And then you fired me," Zara added pointedly. Asher had the grace to look uncomfortable. "That was a mistake. Your department head didn't fully understand your value to the company. I didn't know about your system until yesterday." "So what are you proposing? That you give me my job back?" Zara asked, skeptical. "Not exactly," Asher said. "I'm proposing something better. I want to hire you as an independent consultant. You'd work directly with me on a new project, a complete overhaul of our data management systems. You'd set your own hours, work remotely, and earn triple your previous salary." Zara stared at him, stunned. "Why would you offer me that?" "Because you're brilliant at what you do," Asher said simply. "And because losing you was a business mistake I intend to correct." Zara shook her head. "I don't understand. You could hire anyone for this project. Why me?" Before Asher could answer, Penny came bouncing back into the kitchen, now dressed in a Christmas sweater with reindeer on it. "Can Mr. Thorne stay for Christmas breakfast?" she asked. "I can show him my new drawings." Asher looked at Zara, waiting for her response. To her own surprise, she found herself nodding. "If he wants to, I'd be honored," Asher said, and something in his voice made Zara think he meant it. Breakfast was a strange affair. Penny chattered away about school and her friends, and her dreams of becoming a veterinarian someday. Asher listened with surprising interest, asking thoughtful questions and even laughing at Penny's jokes. Zara remained quiet, watching this billionaire CEO who supposedly had no time for sentiment, interact with her daughter as if nothing else in the world mattered. When breakfast was over, Penny insisted on showing Asher her drawings. He studied, each one carefully, commenting on the colors and the imagination behind them. Zara noticed his expression change slightly when he came to a drawing of what looked like a hospital room. "What's this one?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. "That's me at the doctor's office," Penny explained. "I have to go there sometimes because I get bad headaches and scary dreams. The doctor says I need special medicine." Asher's eyes met Zara's over Penny's head, a question in them. Zara gave a small nod. "Well," Asher said, standing up, "I should be going. Thank you for breakfast and for showing me your wonderful drawings, Penny." At the door, he handed Zara a business card. "My personal number," he said quietly. "Think about my offer. No pressure, but I hope you'll consider it." Zara took the card, still uncertain. "I'll think about it." "That's all I ask," Asher said. "Merry Christmas, Zara." It was the first time he'd used her first name, and it startled her. She watched him walk down the hallway, wondering what had just happened. Had Asher Thorne, the notorious Heartless Billionaire, just spent Christmas morning eating pancakes with her and her daughter? "I like him," Penny declared, hugging Sparkles. "He looks sad, but he has kind eyes." Out of the mouths of babes, Zara thought for the second time in as many days. "We'll see," was all she said, tucking Asher's card into her pocket. The day after Christmas, while Penny was playing with Sparkles in her room, Zara sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open. Asher's business card lay next to her keyboard, his private number written in elegant script. His offer was too good to be true. Triple her salary, working remotely, flexible hours. Perfect for a single mother with a child who needed special care. But why? Why would Asher Thorne, known for his ruthless business practices, suddenly develop a conscience? And why focus that newfound compassion on her? Zara typed his name into the search bar. Hundreds of results appeared instantly. Business articles praising his genius, gossip columns speculating about his love life, charity gala photos showing him with celebrities and politicians. She clicked through page after page, looking for something, anything, that might explain his behavior. On the third page of results, she found it. An article from 20 years ago with the headline, "Thorne Family Mourns Loss of Daughter." Baturthio photo showed a younger Gerald Thorne, Asher's father, standing stiffly beside his wife at a funeral. A teenage Asher stood slightly apart from them, his face blank with shock. The article explained that Lily Thorne, aged 7, had died on Christmas Eve after a long battle with a rare neurological condition. Zara froze, a chill running through her body. A rare neurological condition, like the one Penny's doctor suspected she might have. The symptoms matched: headaches, vivid nightmares, occasional disorientation. She read further, learning that after Lily's death, the Thorne family had established a research foundation dedicated to finding treatments for the condition. Gerald had thrown money at the problem, as if trying to buy back what he'd lost. Asher, according to the article, had worked closely with the foundation throughout college and into his early career. Zara closed her laptop, heart pounding. Had Asher recognized Penny's symptoms? But how could he have known? They hadn't discussed Penny's health during his visits. The letter. Penny's letter to Santa that she'd dropped in the mailbox. Could Asher have somehow gotten hold of it? She remembered Penny mentioning her bad dreams and needing special medicine in that letter. "Mom?" Penny called from her room. "Can I have a snack?" "Coming, sweetie," Zara replied automatically, her mind still racing. As she prepared apple slices, and peanut butter, she made a decision. She took out her phone and dialed the number on Asher's card. He answered on the second ring. "Zara," he said, as if he'd been expecting her call. "We need to talk," she said without preamble. "Not about your job offer. About why you're really helping us." A pause. "I can meet you in an hour. There's a cafe on Maple Street, the Brewing Pot. It's quiet. Not many people go there the day after Christmas." "I'll be there," Zara said, hanging up before he could say more. Mrs. Guzman agreed to watch Penny, eyebrows raised with curiosity, when Zara said she had an important meeting. Zara chose her clothes carefully. Not too casual, not too formal. This wasn't a job interview, but it wasn't a social call either. This was about protecting her daughter. The cafe was nearly empty when she arrived. Asher sat at a corner table, a cup of black coffee in front of him. He wore a dark blue sweater that made his eyes look even more intensely blue than she remembered. He stood when he saw her. "Thank you for coming," he said, pulling out her chair. Zara sat, declining his offer to order her a drink. "I want to know the truth, Mr. Thorne." "Please, call me Asher," he said, his expression serious. "And I've never lied to you, Zara." "But you haven't told me everything either," she countered. "I know about your sister Lily. I know she died from the same condition that Penny is showing symptoms of." Asher's face paled slightly. "How did you—" "It doesn't matter how I know," Zara said firmly. "What matters is why you didn't tell me. Is that why you're suddenly interested in helping us? Because my daughter reminds you of your sister?" Asher was quiet for a long moment, staring into his coffee. When he looked up, the cool businessman was gone, replaced by someone older, more vulnerable. "I saw Penny's letter to Santa," he admitted finally. "The one where she mentioned her symptoms. I recognized them immediately." "How did you see her letter?" Zara demanded. "The night I was fired, I was angry," Asher explained. "I went to the community center where you were volunteering. I wanted to confront you, to tell you off. But then I saw you with Penny, and I couldn't. A volunteer had a box of letters to Santa. Penny's was on top. I saw your address, and her name caught my eye. So you read my daughter's private letter to Santa?" Zara's voice rose slightly, drawing a glance from the barista. "I know it was wrong," Asher said quickly, "but when I read about her symptoms, I couldn't ignore it. Lily had the exact same symptoms at her age. Our parents were too busy building their empire to notice until it was almost too late." "And what? You thought you'd swoop in and save Penny? Be the hero you couldn't be for your sister?" Zara's words were harsh, but her voice had softened. "I don't want to be a hero," Asher said quietly. I couldn't stand by and do nothing. Not again." "The unicorn," Zara said suddenly. "The insurance for her medication. That was all you?" Asher nodded. "The job offer is real, though. Your work is exceptional, and I want you on my team. But yes, I also want to help Penny. The foundation I started after Lily died has made incredible progress. There are treatments now that didn't exist 20 years ago. I can connect you with the best specialists in the country." Zara felt tears pricking at her eyes. "I don't need your charity." "It's not charity," Asher insisted, reaching across the table as if to take her hand, then thinking better of it. "The foundation helps dozens of children each year. Why shouldn't Penny be one of them?" "Because you're using your sister's memory as an excuse to insert yourself into our lives," Zara said, but her words lacked conviction. "Maybe at first," Asher admitted. "But now I genuinely want to help. Both of you. When I saw how devoted you are to Penny, how hard you work to give her a good life. It made me realize what I've been missing. I've spent years building walls around myself, focusing only on business, shutting out anything that might hurt. Zara studied his face, looking for signs of deception. She found none. I still don't understand why you fired me in the first place. The layoffs were planned months ago after the merger. Your name was on a list I never saw until it was too late. When I realized what had happened, I tried to fix it. Badly, I admit. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of revelations hanging between them. There's a charity gala on New Year's Eve, Asher said finally, for the Lily Thorne Foundation. Would you and Penny come as my guests? You could meet some of the specialists, learn more about what we do. Zara hesitated. Everything was moving. Too fast. 2 days ago, this man had been a stranger, an enemy who had taken away her livelihood. Now he was offering her a lifeline, a chance to help Penny get the treatment she needed. I'll think about it, she said, standing up. That's all I can promise right now. That's fair, Asher said, rising as well. And the job offer? I'll think about that too. Zara paused, then added reluctantly, Thank you. For Sparkles. It meant the world to Penny. A genuine smile transformed Asher's face, making him look younger, more approachable. You should have seen me arguing with the warehouse manager on Christmas Eve. I think he thought I'd lost my mind, demanding a specific stuffed unicorn in the middle of the night. Despite herself, Zara smiled back. I can imagine. As they parted ways outside the cafe, Zara felt strangely lighter. She still didn't fully trust Asher Thorne, but she understood him better now. His motives weren't entirely selfless, but they weren't as calculating as she'd initially thought, either. He was a man haunted by his past, trying in his own way to make amends. The question was, should she let him? The Lily Thorne Foundation Gala was held in the grand ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables draped in white linen. Ice sculptures shaped like angels stood at either end of the room, slowly, melting throughout the evening. Zara tugged nervously at the navy blue dress Asher had sent over, along with a child-sized emerald green one for Penny. She'd initially wanted to refuse the gifts, but practicality won out. She didn't own anything suitable for such an event. You look beautiful, Mom, Penny said, twirling in her own dress. Like a princess. So do you, sweetie, Zara replied, smoothing Penny's curls. Remember what we talked about? This is a grown-up party, so you need to use your best manners. I know, Penny said solemnly, and I get to meet real doctors who might help with my headaches. A week had passed since Zara's conversation with Asher at the cafe. After careful consideration, she'd accepted his invitation to the gala. She still hadn't given him an answer about the job. Asher was waiting for them in the hotel lobby, handsome in a black tuxedo. His face brightened when he saw them approach. You both look lovely, he said, bending slightly to address Penny directly. I'm very glad you could come. Penny beamed up at him. I brought Sparkles. She held up the unicorn, now wearing a small bow tie made from a ribbon. She wanted to dress up too. Very appropriate, Asher said with a straight face. Sparkles? Looks quite distinguished. As they entered the ballroom, heads turned. Whispers followed them across the room. The notorious Asher Thorne with a woman and child? It was unprecedented. Everyone staring, Zara muttered. Let them, Asher replied, guiding them toward a table near the front. Most of these people only know me as a business entity, not a person. Dinner was an elaborate affair with courses Penny had never seen before. Asher patiently explained each one to her, smiling at her expressions of delight or disgust. Zara watched their interaction with growing amazement. This was not the cold-hearted CEO she'd imagined. With Penny, he was patient, kind, almost gentle. After dinner, Asher introduced them to several doctors associated with the foundation. One of them, Dr. Eleanor Chen, took a special interest in Penny. "Asher tells me you've been having headaches and nightmares," she said, kneeling to Penny's level. Penny nodded. "Sometimes I see scary things that aren't there. Mom says it's just my imagination, but it feels real." Dr. Chen exchanged a glance with Zara. "Would it be okay if I spoke with your mom about some tests that might help?" While Penny was entertained by a young volunteer who was making balloon animals for the children attending the gala, Dr. Chen spoke quietly to Zara and Asher. "The symptoms are consistent with early onset of Batten-Mills syndrome," she said. "It's what Lily had." The good news is we've made remarkable progress with treatment protocols. If caught early, most children respond very well. "And the costs?" Zara asked, her stomach clenching. "The foundation covers everything," Asher said before Dr. Chen could answer. "That's why we exist." Zara felt overwhelmed with emotions: gratitude, fear for Penny, and something else she couldn't quite name when she looked at Asher. As midnight approached, the band began playing slower music. Couples moved to the dance floor, swaying to the romantic melody. "Would you dance with me?" Asher asked Zara. She hesitated, then nodded. On the dance floor, his hand at her waist was warm and steady. They moved together as if they'd done this many times before. "Thank you," Zara said quietly, "for everything you're doing for Penny." "She's a special child," Asher replied. "She reminds me so much of Lily, the same spirit, the same curiosity about everything." "Is that the only reason you're helping us?" Zara asked, meeting his eyes directly. Asher guided her toward a quieter corner of the ballroom, away from the other dancers. They stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the city skyline. Midnight was approaching, and preparations for fireworks were visible in the distance. "No," he said finally. "It's not the only reason." "Then what is it?" Zara pressed. Asher took a deep breath. "The truth is, I've been planning to restructure the company for months. The merger made it necessary, but I couldn't bring myself to make the final decisions until I saw a photo." "A photo?" "From the company picnic last summer. You and Penny were sitting under a tree. She was laughing at something, and you were looking at her like she was your whole world." Asher's voice grew softer. "She looked so much like Lily in that moment. It hit me hard. How quickly life can change, how little time we really have. So I was fired because my daughter reminded you of your sister?" Zara asked, confused. "No," Asher shook his head. "You were let go because your department was being consolidated. It was a decision made by managers who didn't understand your value. I didn't know about it until afterward." "But you could have reversed it." "Yes," Asher admitted. "And I should have. Instead, I tried to fix it in all the wrong ways. The bonus, the job offer, I thought I could solve everything with money because that's all I've known. My parents taught me that everything has a price." "Some things don't," Zara said quietly. "I'm learning that," Asher replied. "Seeing you with Penny, watching how you care for her despite all the challenges, it made me realize what I've been missing in my pursuit of wealth and power. I've been alone for so long, afraid to care about anyone after losing Lily." Inside the ballroom, the countdown to midnight had begun. 10, 9, 8. "I'm not asking for anything," Asher continued, "but I would like to help, if you'll let me." not just with Penny's medical needs, but he hesitated. I'd like to be part of your lives, in whatever way you're comfortable with. 7, 6, 5. Why? Zara asked, her heart racing. Why us? Because for the first time in 20 years, I feel something again, Asher said. When I'm with you and Penny, I remember what it's like to care about something more than stock prices and profit margins. 4, 3, 2. I don't know if I can trust you, Zara admitted. Everything's happening so fast. I understand, Asher said. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. 1. As cheers erupted inside, and the first fireworks exploded overhead, Zara looked at Asher. Really, looked at him, not as the heartless billionaire who had fired her, but as a man who had suffered his own losses and was trying, in his own imperfect way, to be better. She opened her mouth to speak, to tell him that perhaps, with time, there might be a place for him in their lives, but the words never came. From inside the ballroom, a scream cut through the festive noise. Help! Someone help! Zara recognized the voice immediately, the volunteer who had been watching Penny. Cold fear gripped her heart as she rushed back inside, Asher right behind her. Penny lay on the ballroom floor, her small body convulsing, the unicorn clutched tightly in her hand. Dr. Chen was already kneeling beside her, checking her vital signs. What's happening? Zara cried, dropping to her knees beside her daughter. She's having a seizure, Dr. Chen said calmly. It's one of the symptoms of Batten Mills. We need to get her to a hospital. My car is outside, Asher said, already pulling out his phone. And I'm calling my medical team to meet us at the hospital. The best neurologist in the country is at our research center. I'm having him flown in immediately. As they rushed Penny to Asher's waiting car, Zara felt numb with terror. Her little girl, her whole world, looked so small and vulnerable on the back seat. Asher sat beside her, his face set with determination. She'll be all right, he said, taking Zara's hand. I promise you, I will do everything in my power to help her. In that moment, as the car sped through nearly empty streets toward the hospital, Zara realized the truth. The man beside her, the so-called Heartless Billionaire, might be the only person who could save her daughter from the fate that had befallen his sister. And despite all her reservations, all her fears about letting him into their lives, she knew she had no choice but to trust him. The question remained, was he truly changed? Or was this just another transaction for a man who had spent his life putting business before people? As Penny's small hand grew limp in hers, Zara prayed she had made the right decision. That was the end of our story. I hope you enjoyed this emotional journey of redemption, connection, and unexpected hope. Where are you listening from? I'd love to know. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one. Don't forget to share with your friends and family to spread kindness and awareness. Thank you for spending time with Zara, Penny, and Asher's story today. Sometimes second chances and compassion can come from the most unexpected places.